We gotta go. I'll get my car. What, mine? Yours. I gotta get me one of those.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bat Dan's Discussions, and welcome to the return of Bat Dan's Thoughts, the channel. Aside from some pre-recorded content and a short, I'm finally back, and with a brand new setup. I got DC, Star Wars, Rebel Moon, and Marvel. You can't really see the Marvel, but it's from Spider-Man 2. I may try to get that moved. But the setup will evolve, but I'm really excited to return and launch this channel, and forgot to put up the banner. I'm back. I'm back, and I'm ready to discuss, catch up on all the stuff I missed, because it's, my God, you go away for a little bit, and you miss so much stuff. So much has happened. And you know something that did happen while I was away? I met someone. In person. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, Josh Herrera and I coming at it. Yep, that's right. I met this guy in person.
What's up? Bat Dan, aka One Punch Dan. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be back, on my channel and discussing some great topics, some fun topics, some stuff I need to get off my chest too. But what up, Dennis Medina? Rebel Moon Theory. But I'm really excited to return. I'm excited to go back. I'm not going to do the Jurassic Park theme just because I don't want Universal copywriting me. Or maybe that I can do a little bit of this. Hello, Sox Bulletins. We have to catch up to.
What's up,
So,
Sox?
you excited, Josh? You excited to come back and talk about all this great stuff?
I am very excited, Bat Dan. For those who don't know, shout out to Bat Dan. Bat Dan's been wanting to do this stream for a minute. Most people kind of know I've been kind of dealing with some personal things and keeping busy. But look, we are back, and we're going to add Jurassic Park to your fandom wall, Bat Dan, because there's a new movie out we're going to talk about, and I'm excited to talk about all things geeky in pop culture. So thank you for having me once again, buddy. I mean, we were fighting in Chicago, but I guess we'll be cool right now,
right? Maybe. I mean,
we're fighting over that last slice of pizza, so
we have to talk about this next, though. So yes, One Punch Dan. It's not going to come out this week unless Zodwriter finished this movie without telling me. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know, but I doubt it, which is okay, because you know what, Josh? I'd much rather have a quality product than a rushed product.
Unlike some co-heads of some studios. No names.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. But
let Zod cook. Let Zod cook.
Yep, that's a new one, actually. Yep. You know what? We need
a hashtag. Yes, Necron, unlike...
What up, Necron? Yep, unlike L.
W Necron. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Hashtag let Zod cook.
Yep, let Zod cook. And, oh, you bet I am the Curly Ray. Don't want to get too far into Rebel Moon on this show, though, because of my OCD and being like, Space-tastic discussions is for Rebel Moon. But, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Shout out to Curly Ray for putting in work and seeing you on the timeline, homie.
Yeah, and you know what? Shout out to the Curly Ray, too, for giving us a conversation that we really need with Rebel Moon. Because what I like about Rebel Moon Theory is that he represents an important part of the Zack Snyder fandom. He represents Rebel Moon and, like, really focusing on Rebel Moon. Because sometimes the DC stuff does overshadow Rebel Moon. So it's nice to have a channel in our community focused on Rebel Moon. So, yes, shout out to you, Rebel Moon Theory. Yeah, okay, I don't know why. For some reason, I thought I was going to pronounce that wrong.
You got it, homie. Look, you thought you were rusty, and you're jumping right back in it.
Oh, what up, W. Mir? Exactly. One Punch Dan will not have wonky effects because Zodwriter works. Zodwriter cooks. And the only criticism I have is that there's kind of a lame character in this movie that, I mean...
I think the star of the movie, actually, who you're referring to.
I mean, I will say, I don't get too far into Rebel Moon, but I did rewatch the director's cuts, part 2 today, actually, or chapter 2 today, and I can say that right now, Zach is cooking with Netflix. I'll say that. I will say that.
Yes, he is. Let cook, just like Zod.
Anything else you want to say about One Punch Dan before we move on?
No, I just want to commend. I have, as a part of the executive branch, I've been privy to see some behind the scenes content, and let's just say it just keeps getting better and better. So I think that this delay is for the benefit of the project, because this project is going to be a lot more symbolic than I think a lot of people realize. I think that this project is going to be worth the wait, and I really appreciate Zod spending tireless hours putting me and you and so many others in this community into a IP that I'm actually excited about. A new Superman in One Punch Dan. Actually, I mean, just Josh, but I guess it's called One Punch Dan. I guess so.
Okay, anyway, I guess it's just me doing this show.
I mean, One Punch Dan is Superboy and not Superman, but okay. Before I get booted, I need to. But no, but I'm really, all things considered, like I'm very excited for people to see it. It's going, like I said, the only reason for the delay is because everything's getting better. The dialogue is getting better. The look of it's getting better. The story's getting better and more fleshed out. So, hashtag let Zod cook. Can't wait.
Hashtag let Zod cook. And before we move on to the next topic, I just need to do a quick wardrobe change. Won't be long.
He's doing his Linda Carter. Oh, I can't turn around. I got headphones in here. What's going on? Hey, Janice Medina. Good to see you, fella. Thanks for always showing support. Saying Havoc. Good to see you, homie. A fellow One Punch Dan cast member.
We talked about One Punch Dance and Havoc, but anyways, Ezra Miller returns. Since, my God, like not being able to cover this right away really killed me.
Yeah, but I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's not all you, Josh. It's not all you. It took me a while to get this set up. But like this stuff you see right here, this got set up yesterday. So, yeah. But anyways, Ezra Miller was recently spotted in a premiere for some film in Italy, and he says that he is willing to return on tentative grounds. Basically, like I saw the interview with him recently where he was talking about how the solitude's been good for him, and it was really good for him mentally. And it was really nice to see that. I really like seeing that. And let me just pull up the article real quick. But what are your thoughts on this, Josh?
I loved seeing it. So me and you have shared, this comeback of Ezra Miller, or the tentative comeback, just the comeback in the spotlight, right? He went to a film festival. I forget which one off the top of my head, but to support one of his fellow cohorts who was debuting their film. And Ezra is such a loyal friend, right? He admits in this interview that we're going to talk about, he was not wanting to come to this film festival, right? Because paparazzi, attention, right? And after everything that he's gone through with the coordinated hate campaign against this man, Barry Allen, the Flash, would you want to go out in the spotlight when there's coordinated hate groups targeting you and trying to take down your potentially billion-dollar film franchise that you are headlining, right? Everything that he went through throughout COVID and the release of The Flash in 2023. Like, props to Ezra for being a real hero and standing up for his friend, even though it made him uncomfortable.
Exactly, Josh. And because it's I don't blame Ezra, because let's be honest, there has been a lot of disingenuous coverage with Ezra Miller, because like TMZ and Penske Media, which includes, I don't know if I ever said that right, but that includes Variety, Deadline. They were so quick to cover all the allegations about Ezra Miller. But the instant Chase Iron Eyes came out on his Instagram and said, "Hey, I was wrong," all of a sudden they were like, "What? Oh, whatever. Not important. We don't need to cover this." That's just disingenuous journalism. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they still have it in their head. And so what Ezra Miller did coming out just to support a friend was brave. Because basically, okay, so they attended Cannes, what? Because of their close friend Ramsey asked him to come to support the new movie Die My Love. But that's the thing, though. Here's the big thing. Ezra Miller's not in this movie. And yet, despite, like, there's no reason for Ezra Miller to be there. There is no reason that Ezra Miller needed to be there. So the fact is, despite that, the director still wanted Ezra to come and show support. That shows the tide turning. That shows the tide changing. Like, Josh, remember when I said that in the whole recasting of Ezra Miller and Invincible with D.A. Sinclair, how I didn't believe for a second it was a scheduling conflict, that it was basically they didn't want to say anything bad about Ezra Miller in case the tide changes, and then later on they're looked back as, oh my God, we did this. Well, look, tide's changing right now because Ezra Miller's getting more support, and I'm not going to play this whole interview, but the link is in the description to this website. Watch this interview, guys. It's a really great interview. It's like, Ezra Miller gave a lot of information, a lot of insights into what's been going on with his life, and it was a really phenomenal interview. So check it out. It was really great. But yeah, and what up? What up, Rel? You know this is great for Cell, though, too, Josh, because Ezra Miller is willing to return on tentative grounds. Right now, in the article I just closed, but basically he wants to work with Lynn Ramsey again. But if Zack Snyder calls, when Zack Snyder calls for Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, or maybe even a project in Rebel Moon that Mikey Sutton said would happen, you think Ezra's going to say no?
Come on. Come on, Bad Dan. And in that interview, you all should watch that. Ezra talks about this, right? How having a loyal friend is something that means so much to him as a person. It's something he's loyal, right? He's not going to forget about the people who, when he was a nobody, stood by him, right? And just because you start blowing up and becoming a big deal doesn't mean you have to start acting different and treating the people who made you, right? You don't have to act different. Be who you are consistently. And that's who Ezra has been. And I apologize. I want to clarify. Their pronouns are they, them. So they are always who they wanted to be from day one. Somebody who doesn't forget about their friends and someone who's loyal to them. And they spoke about this. And I think that was the point of the interview, to talk about showing up for their friends whenever they get the call. So we know who has the Flash's phone number. So just saying.
Oh, don't get ahead. Okay. I won't get too far ahead. Sin Havoc. And yes, thanks for reminding me, Josh. They, them. Absolutely.
Even though they don't care about their pronouns, so but we try to be respectful.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just gonna say, it really kind of rubbed me the wrong way on a recent Facebook post in a Snyder group of Snyder fans, when someone posted love for Ezra Miller, and there was all this hate for Ezra Miller, propping up Grant Gustin, who is overrated, not like this best Flash actor. Great for the show he did. I'm not taking that away from him. But not when I'm seeing all these people propping up Grant in an Ezra post and like trying to like dumb down Ezra. It rubs me off the wrong way. But I'm just saying, I know that Snyder fans don't have to like every single thing in the Snyderverse. I get that. I respect that. But we as a community voted together for the Oscar-winning scene. Ezra Miller won Zack Snyder an Oscar. We voted for that scene. So that's why I have a hard time when I see people who claim to be fans of Snyder going after Ezra, saying that, they never liked their Flash, or they're concerned about the allegations. I'm like, since when do you guys listen to the mainstream media? They lied about Zack Snyder. And when do you not care about mental health issues? Something else that's important to the Snyder fandom. So wanted to rant about that a little bit, but overall, I'm happy to see that. One step at a time, as Sin Havoc says, but this was really great to see. I'm really happy for Ezra. I'm glad Ezra Miller's getting better, especially again after the Flash film flopped, because not only did he have allegations, his big film flopped. Even though it was a good film, despite some issues, I'll admit, but it was still a good film, in my opinion and your opinion. I know not in everyone in this chat's opinion, but it's just so this was really, I'm really glad to see Ezra Miller getting back at it. And maybe again, start small, do supporting roles. Maybe don't take the lead again. I mean, obviously, I don't really see too much happening with the Snyderverse aside from ZSJL 2 and 3 and a few spinoffs. But maybe, just stay in supporting roles. Like, just be the Flash as a member of the Justice League. Or, honestly, Josh, I bet you anything that Ezra Miller will be in the Batfleck movie.
Makes sense, right?
Because Ben Affleck and Ezra Miller, they like those characters, or that Bruce Wayne and that Barry Allen, they had really good chemistry. So,
yep,
you could have a scene like in the Flash movie, a scene like that in the Batfleck movie. Who wouldn't want to see that?
And I mean, we know the arc of ZSJL 2 and 3, right? The Flash is very important to that. So Batman is very important to that. Ultimately, that connection with Barry and Bruce is going to be followed through.
Exactly. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
Just really props to Ezra for wanting to get back up there, because Batdan, it cannot go unstated the fact that I attended multiple advanced screenings, Batdan, of the Flash movie weeks before. I saw the Flash about a month. Me and Sky, we were in different cities, different states, right? But me and him saw, I know it was an unfinished version of the movie, what I saw. And Sky did his tweet first, and as soon as I saw his tweet, mine was finishing loading. So I did not talk to Sky. I did not know what he thought of the movie, but we both loved it, right? But there were 11 screenings before this movie came out back then in my city alone. 11 advanced screenings. Most people who know me know that I go to advanced screenings, right? I've done this since 2011 when I was in college. There has never, ever been 11 screenings in one city. So if you multiply that, if that's Austin, Texas, 11 screenings, there had to have been 11 screenings in all the major cities also. So the Flash was set up there was a coordinated hate campaign, not only with these bots, but within WB itself to sabotage it. We know that originally Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, Diana Prince showed up along with Henry Cavill, Superman, Clark Kent, along with Sasha Calle, Supergirl, to greet Barry Allen in the restored timeline after the Flash, right?
Yep.
We know that Ben Affleck was going to be in a post-credit scene lost in the multiverse, calling out to Barry as a homage to the BVS. Bruce, listen to me now. So everything with the Flash was lining up to continue the Snyderverse. Hence, the Blue Beetle potential post-credit scene. Hence, the potential Aquaman, Lost Kingdom, Batman team up, and possibly, from what I understand, Superman as well, cameo. And then it was sabotaged by somebody who came in and was appointed co-head of a certain studio. So after all that, would you want to come back to that franchise that people tried to destroy your life around and say you were a PDF file and you were grooming children, and the own father admitted that was all nothing, and then the media didn't? Yeah. So anyways, props to Ezra Miller. Barry Allen, the fastest man alive. We love you, buddy.
We love you, Ezra. We hope to see the real version of the Flash movie one day. And one final thing before we move on, Issa Rae, do not think we have forgotten about you.
Oh,
this is for you, Issa Rae.
She'll find out soon enough, one way or another, in one project or another.
Oh, yeah. Well, time for another wardrobe change.
If I didn't have my headphones in, I could turn all the way around. But the Flash was butchered. Info that myself and others have gathered is damning. Oh yeah, I mean, Sin Havoc, you've been an MVP, so thank you for sending me that literary work. If you know, you know. I really appreciate that. What you got?
So I got this when I went to the Field Museum 2 years ago. It says, hold on, let me just give a solo layout. It says, Murder Bird sued the T-Rex. Murder Bird because, birds are theropods. Theropods, like the T-Rex, had feathers. So birds should have feathers. The T-Rex is basically a giant bird. Yes, birds didn't directly descend from T-Rexes, but the chicken is the closest living relative of a T-Rex.
So they went
fact.
Here, just to here, right there.
Give the theropods feathers. But anyways, Josh, before we get on to our review of Jurassic World, which will be spoiler light, so, I mean, some minor things may get spoiled if you haven't seen the movie, but nothing major. But I wanted to talk about the box office because it's so funny, Josh. All these people were so convinced that this movie was going to fail in the box office. It like I will tell you, Josh, when I went to see this movie on Wednesday, there was applause. The theater not only was full, there was freaking applause. And I'm going to be honest, I'm someone who thinks applauding for movies is stupid. I'm not going to lie, but I can definitely recognize the impact of when there is applause, because that is huge. That is really huge. And let me just share my screen again. And Jurassic World Rebirth bites off $318 million at the global box office.
Dang.
For this past week, Josh. $318 million.
That's some money. No pressure. Other movies coming out this week.
Jurassic World, the franchise ruled the 4th of July holiday box office with a global 5-day launch of $318.3 million, according to the studio estimates Sunday.
And that number might go higher back then, because these are just the estimates, right? Because they have no, I mean, they have a formula of calculation, but they've sometimes, with big franchises like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, they underestimate, and then they end up going higher. So we'll see Monday with the actual numbers. So, but amazing. It's
so funny. All these people who kept campaigning, saying this movie's gonna fail, they're moving the goalposts now. They're like, oh, but there's gonna be a big drop the next week. There's gonna be a huge drop the next week.
I don't know why. I don't know anything significant coming out. I mean, this franchise, this is the original Batman. This is the original Jurassic Park. This was in '93 when my little sister was born. I was 5 years old. And I remember my mother taking me to see this, and just not into scary movies, but love dinosaurs. And now we're on part 7, still going strong. Sorry, other franchises trying to come out in July.
Yep, exactly. This is the dinosaur month. Which also, by the way, Jurassic is also kind of a misnomer for an era with a T-Rex, because T-Rexes did not exist in the Jurassic era. They existed in the Cretaceous era. In fact, not only that, a T-Rex, they're closer in distance time-wise to us than they are the Stegosaurus.
So that's why we love T-Rex so much. He gets us.
Sorry, I like dinosaurs. I like dinosaurs. But anyways, let's get on to the movie about the 7th movie about the scientifically inaccurate dinosaurs without feathers, aside from the one in the last movie that had feathers. But the theropods had feathers. Maybe not the adult T-Rex. That's actually is debate about the adult T-Rex, but definitely young T-Rexes, and they likely did have some feathers somewhere, just not over their entire body. But anyways, I'm going to let you start before I get too on about this feathered rant.
I appreciate your knowledge, Batdan. It's going to help the conversation here. So thank you for the scientifically accurate explanations. But no, this movie I got to see it early, as I usually do. Doesn't always happen with bigger movies, so I wasn't sure. And I actually got this hat when I saw Dominion, and I think it's a shirt I got around the same time as well. So I just brought it back. But it's always a pleasure to see this franchise still going. I was a little worried about the change in the cast, but they assembled an awesome cast, and I don't think it's as strong as the previous cast. However, it's the first one, right? And you have to start from scratch somewhere. And I do appreciate that the movie did try to be a rebirth in a sense, right? So if you are bogged down, because there's like my niece loves dinosaurs. She's 6 years old. I don't think she's seen every single Jurassic. I know she's seen some Jurassic Parks and Worlds, but not every single one, right? So as an entry point, this is amazing for, hey, you gonna go see dinosaurs eat people? Yeah! So I really appreciated that aspect with it, with a kind of a blank slate. It's the world, right? It's the universe that we know, but there's a new objective. There's a new scheme that Engine, has basically set in motion, and it's really fun to see the mystery and the new dinosaurs. Someone put feathers on at Christmas. That's Batdan's preferred dinosaur.
Well, actually, my favorite dinosaur is the Triceratops, which did not have feathers because they were not a theropod. But anyways, yeah. But I like what you said, Josh, about this being a good entry point, because honestly, I think it needed kind of a soft reboot, because critically, the last two movies were not that good. And honestly, I did not like the last two movies that much. I liked the first Jurassic World, but the other two were kind of meh. Fallen Kingdom was awful, in my opinion. That one just made no sense. So I think it kind of needed this soft reboot, honestly. I think it was good that they changed the cast, because one is, don't make people have to rewatch the last three movies for this one to make sense. Just don't do that. I like that they did that. And again, this is spoiler light, so basically they kind of undo the whole dinosaurs are all over the earth thing, basically due to climate change, yada yada yada. They can only exist by the equator. That's basically what they did. They kind of made it so that they kind of regressed dinosaurs back to the one area. Of course, I wonder how one dinosaur is going to live. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I like that they did that, though. I think this movie really needed exactly what they gave us, which was that soft reboot, that reset. So that's why I was kind of okay with it, because the whole Lion King ripoff at the end of the last movie, like they literally ripped off a scene from Lion King with the dinosaurs inserted. Like the whole, when you see the animals lining up in the sunset, they ripping that scene off, like, come on, really? But anyways, this is what the franchise needed, and it was a great cast. ScarJo was great, Mahershala Ali was great. I love those two, and the scientist guy was great. I love the cast, and all the characters were likable. I will say that I definitely noticed, though, that some of the characters were there to just die. Like, they basically were in the movie to die. That was kind of obvious. It's like, they're talking about this character a lot, but they're not talking about this character a lot. They may be going next. There was moments of, not saying that was the entire movie, but it was definitely certain points of the movie where that was in there.
I can see that. For sure.
But, Josh, I have to confess something. I did not realize Atticus Noble was in this movie.
Yes. Both Atticus Nobles, actually. Because the corporate guy was the original Atticus Noble. And then we got Atticus Noble doing the Spider-Man point to each other. We got the would-be with Rupert Friend, I think his name. And then Ed Skrein, the actual Atticus Noble. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that either. Damn.
Yeah.
Rebel Moon Theory, you still in this chat?
Rebel Moon Theory, we need you. Yeah, from what I understand, Rupert Friend, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, I apologize. But he was originally cast as Atticus Noble in Rebel Moon. and there were scheduling conflicts. I don't know. I don't think it was this movie. I think it was something else, because of COVID. And there he is.
We were talking about how both Atticus Nobles were in this movie. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, and then so Ed Skrein, Francis from Deadpool came and did an amazing job in my opinion. The role, like I think Ed Skrein, kind of owned that role. But it was also really cool seeing him with hair. I got a kick out of that, seeing those locks. I was like, oh, Atticus Noble has hair.
That's why I did not recognize him, though, because I wasn't necessarily looking for it. So he was dressed up really well. That's a sign of a good actor, though. The fact that he could play this completely different character, and I didn't even realize it was him. Because sometimes there's certain, I'm not gonna lie, like there's certain characters in this movie, like Scarlett Johansson. Her Bennett's whatever. Like I call her Scarlett Johansson. I'm not gonna lie. I call the character Scarlett Johansson the entire time. But yeah, Atticus Noble, I didn't recognize him. So, that's a sign of a good actor, though, just saying. But I guess another question I have is, what's a character that stood out to you?
Yeah, so that was going to be my next point. The three that were kind of my MVPs, I did love all the cast. I thought ScarJo did great. Mahershala it was amazing seeing basically Black Widow and Blade team up, right? and fight some dinosaurs. But for me, actually, the dark horses of the movie franchise were Xavier, if you know, you know. Ed Skrine's character, forget his name in the movie, so he was actually a highlight for me. And the third was actually Dr. Loomis, Jonathan Bailey. I loved his character so much. He was kind of our Ian Malcolm, right? Our Jeff Goldblum, but also kind of mixed with Alan Grant at the same time. Kind of like the nerdy guy, but he could also pull up, rough up his sleeves and get down and dirty doing that rock climbing and everything. He's like, oh, I rock climb at my gym. She's like, it's a little different than your gym, or just like your gym, actually. So I just loved that he was kind of like a composite character, right, of Ian Malcolm and Alan Grant from the original franchise. So that callback just did a lot for me. And Jonathan Bailey, I was a huge fan. Most people have known him in Wicked right now as a standout, but he is an amazing actor. He's been in so many things. I believe he's in Bridgerton or something like that, or Gilded Age, or one of those. So he's bringing in different fan bases from different franchises, and I think he's part of this movie's success just as much as ScarJo and Mahershala and Ed Skrein, and all the other cast members. And I think that for me, he was a standout. So I really appreciated him.
And that's great, though, that there were all these characters that were great, and that we have different favorite characters. It shows the power of the cast. And I did like the family in the movie too. They were great. I like seeing the boyfriend, because I'm not gonna lie, when the boyfriend's there, I wanted him to die. When I first saw him, I'm like, oh, please just kill this character off. I'm not gonna lie, that if you haven't seen the movie, you'll know why. But then as time went on, they developed the character, and I was kind of like, please don't have him die. Please don't let him die. And I was so happy or upset when he did or didn't die at the end of the movie, So it was a great, but it's character development I like, is that, you're kind of this hot shot, but like when push comes to shove and you're in danger, you really step up. It's like, sometimes it's like your life being in danger, being in a perilous situation, it can really shape you up. It can really make you more mature. And I really like seeing that in this movie. And there's a quote that the dad said to the boyfriend I really liked, and I'm not going to say this in this review. We'll talk about it in the spoiler review, but it's a really good quote that I really liked. And it's little things like that was extra good writing right there. Not because, let's be honest, they could have just made a movie where they fight dinosaurs and people would have eaten it up. But little things like that make the movie a lot better. I'm not gonna lie, there's certain times where characters make dumb choices. I'm like, you don't need this right now. You don't need to risk your life to get this particular item right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. And then, I mean, that's definitely in the movie. There's definitely moments of stupidity. Like, this isn't early in the movie, so let's just say, interesting how Snickers killed someone. We'll say that. Interesting how Snickers are really deadly. So, but I guess, are there any kind of issues you had with the movie that non-spoiler or spoiler light issues you had with the movie?
No, actually, I just wanted to kind of comment on what you said about. Okay, I guess maybe it's commenting on what you said. For me, I will say that this movie, I don't want to be disingenuous. It did sort of miss some of the magic for me, some of the moments. However, so it's not the magic wasn't as inherent throughout. So I would kind of criticize it a little bit for that. However, like you said, the moments that are there that are kind of a little bit few and far between, but they did hit for me. And what you're talking about, that scene with the dad, who I loved, by the way, the dad was just, you know, the thing I liked about this movie, back then, kind of going back to what I was talking about before with Ezra, this movie and these characters are all about loyalty. They're all about having big hearts, standing up when push comes to shove, and doing the right thing, no matter how uncomfortable you are. Right? Just like what Ezra Miller did. That happens within Jurassic World Rebirth, where an unlikely, group of characters rally and show loyalty when it's needed for people that did stuff for them, right? So it's basically a, mutual companionship between these characters to stay alive in this Jurassic world that they live in. And I really liked that because the dialogue that you're talking about, which I think we can say, right, that there will be a spoiler review next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. And I specifically planned it on a particular weekend for a reason. I'll say that.
So we'll go in more in depth next week, next Sunday, I think. But I will say that quote, just when it said, my entire theater, I turned with the person I went with, and I looked at, and like the entire theater had a reaction, like, hit you like right there in the heart. And there's several moments for me that were in this movie. So yeah, that's one thing I want to commend about the movie, is that when the moments do hit, they hit hard. And that's why one of the reasons I liked it. So go see Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yes, I agree. See Jurassic World Rebirth. I have not Futuretron. I have not seen the movie or the trailer, but I'll definitely check it out. But if they don't have feathers on the T-Rex, I'm out. But I will say, one thing I will say is that there's definitely a Grogu character in this movie, a character that I feel like it kind of exists to sell merchandise. I still like the character, but I'm not going to lie. I definitely feel like they wanted to sell a toy to kids with this character. But, as long as the character is likable, it's okay to do. But I'm not going to act like this character is purely in there for the movie.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But that character was also, I forgot to mention, of the human characters, that's who I mentioned. But this character is also of MVP. So we'll save that for this spoiler review.
And we will not give a rating for this one yet, because we're going to give the rating in our spoiler review, which we're planning. This is tentative, but again, we saw with One Punch Man, things can change. Tentative for next Sunday, July 11th or 13th. It's the 13th. Because I figured, you know what? I would love to do a review, give engagement to Jurassic World, get the week another movie comes out. I just thought that'd be so poetic. And since I'm going to rewatch the movie before the spoiler review, I figured, you know what, let's just wait to give the rating till I rewatch it, see if my opinion changes. But overall, it's a good movie. It's a basic plot, but that's okay, honestly. Not every movie has to be some phenomenal masterpiece. The movie did what it was supposed to, so go see the movie and check out Josh and my review on this movie next week. The whole stream will be dedicated to Jurassic World next week, so be on the lookout for that. But now, time for another wardrobe change.
Ooh. Let's see. What do y'all think he's going to have now? What's Bat Dan twirling into? Actually, let me Let me twirl myself.
Oh, I'm back right when Josh twirls. Sorry. But anyways,
You
now
bat flick. I see the bat flick.
nothing Batman specific, but this is going to be like the neutral hat I wear when we're not talking about something specific. But this was so satisfying to see. People were so confident that everything's going fine at Warner Brothers Discovery. So two things happened. Zaslav's pay was rejected by the shareholders, and now his raise was rejected by the shareholders, and now his pay was cut by the shareholders. Like, really interesting right there. I mean, okay, granted, he's still making more money than the rest of us are making. I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, hey, maybe there's someone in here who's making like $7 million a year watching the stream. I don't know, but
what are you doing here?
I'm not going to get into my specific salary, but I'm going to say it's not that. But anyways, it's still the good out of principle, though, because it shows that the shareholders are reacting to this now. They are not happy with the way things are going. I will say this, Josh. If the shareholders saw Superman and it looked like a good movie, do you think they would have cut his pay?
Nope. Definitely not.
Exactly. Because I will say this. When, as much as we blame James Gunn and Peter Safran for all this stuff that went down, at the end of the day, Zaslav gave them the job. Zaslav signed off on this. He could have said, hey, look, James Gunn, I respect you want to do your own vision, and that's completely fine, but we already promised the public Henry Cavill, so we have to pay this announcement off in some way. So let's do ZSGL 2 and 3 as an Elseworlds, and you can do your own vision as well. We'll just do that so we pay it off with the public. Could have done that. But Zaslav didn't do that. Zaslav thought it was okay to make a big announcement about someone coming back, or tell someone that to make a big announcement about his return and then go back on it. That is not okay. That is never okay. And it's just, yes, there's more decisions than just DC that cause this, but this is just an example of what happened. I guess, Josh, I'm ranting a little bit. What's your thoughts on this?
I mean, from somebody in the chat, we've actually heard things, right, about a certain co-head actually being involved with this sabotage that's currently happening since like 2011. So I agree with what you're saying about, with Zaslav, Lava Man, rest in peace, Mikey Sutton, who, appointed them and has bogged down the entire WB artistic merit that came with that studio's 100-year history with Discovery Plus content with Dr. Pimple Popper and reality shows and C, D, E quality cheap entertainment, right? And now the shareholders are sick of it, right? Like Zach said, let's see what happens with Discovery. And we're seeing it, and the results. So I don't think that, unfortunately, I visited the studio in 2023 and 2024.
Same here, 2024 at least. Go on.
And I think I even told you this, right? And I encouraged you when you asked me about recommendations to go to the studio tour, WB studio tour. I said, I'm going because I don't know how much longer it's going to be around. So I went twice. I went in 2023. I did not expect to go in 2024, but Zack Snyder just happened to be, have a little Snyder Con where I got to meet some of the cool table in the Syndicate Network. But I think everything that we know about, thanks to people like Zen Havoc, people like Mikey Sutton, we've known about this, right, for so long. So it's just, we feel like Thanos looking over on a grateful universe, seeing it all come to fruition as it was foretold. So it's really fun to be a part of this with you guys. And shout out to Dami Ray, good to see you, and shout out to Dennis Medina. Netflix is the key. So we appreciate you guys joining us in the timeline because we're kind of from the future, thanks to some people that have been rocking with this community for a long time.
Exactly. Well said, Josh. Well said. And it just shows that, Gunn does not have all the power that you think. Like, maybe the shareholders are going to step back more. Like, people worry about upward failure with Gunn, but the shareholders are already speaking, and they're definitely going to speak after this movie flops. I maybe we'll do well. I doubt it though. But we'll all get into that later. We'll get into that a little bit later. But this was good to see. It's good to see that Zaslav is facing some accountability. When you make bad decisions, you should be punished for it. There should be consequences for it. And yes, he's still making more money than we're making, but it's still, from his perspective, it's still a lot of money he lost. It's a raise he lost, it's stock he lost, which, a lot of people don't realize. The salary is only a small part of a big CEO's compensation, like of a big company like this. It's like their stocks and other packages are really the bigger part of their pay, and that's getting cut too. So this is huge. This is huge as the shareholders are speaking, and hopefully they speak when they see that Superman flops and there's a demand for the Cyberverse. Hopefully the shareholders go, okay, you tried it with Gunny Poo, did not work. Let's go another avenue. We're broke, so maybe let's sell this to another company. So we'll see. We'll see. But I just wanted to cover this because I think it's good to see. And I will say this, Josh. I will still say this. I still think giving David Zaslav a chance was the right thing to do, despite everything that happened, because you cannot go after someone. You should not go after someone until they fuck up. When they fuck up, then you can be like, oh yeah, you suck. But until they do something, because we don't know what would have happened if Black Adam was a success at the end of the day. We don't know. I mean, I know that Gunn was in there, but it being a success may have made it harder for Gunn to get the job. So we don't know what would have happened, but let's just say whoever ends up in charge of WB next, please do not hate them until they actually do something wrong. But this was great to see. And yeah, fire sale continues in Havoc because, and I'll just say real quick, what was it? I was about to say something and I lost it. Yeah, well, whatever. It probably wasn't that important if I forgot. So, yeah, that's interesting, Sin Havoc. That is, I've heard that, losing a big actor like Tom Cruise.
And he's leaving WB. So, interesting.
Yep. Very interesting. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was just bad decisions which caused this. So, but now what's really interesting is this: the one becomes the two. WBD is becoming two separate companies: WB Streaming and Studios and WBD. I actually have this Global Network. So these are the assets that are splitting in this right here. And so this is kind of like the main company. This is like the Warner Brothers company, and this is like all the stuff that Warner Brothers doesn't want, including the debt. The debt is the entire debt. Zaslav's in charge of this company right here. And this company is getting all of Warner Brothers' debt, which I'll tell you this, Josh, wouldn't it be nice if you could just do stuff like that in real life? I would love if I could just keep my condo that I bought recently and just give the mortgage to some other parties. Like, here, I get the condo, but you can get the mortgage though. You can take this mortgage. Wouldn't you just love if you could just do stuff, if regular people could just do stuff like that? That would be so nice. But
gotta love Hollyweird, don't you? The things that they get away with and the people they get away with appointing to certain jobs. Interesting. Very interesting.
So what's your thoughts about this split happening?
I mean, once again, thank you, Dami Ray. Seeing Rebirth for the third time next week. It's good. It's really good. So if you have not seen it, I definitely recommend. But third time, Right on, partner. Right on. Let me know what you think on your third watch. I love that we have been living in the future thanks to being part of this community, right, Bat Dan? This is all news for us. For those who don't know,
Yeah.
we've we've had information thanks to rocking out with this community that others just have not paid attention to and have not had the foresight to see, and why this community has so many people kind of, with guns out, I'll say, not knives out, but guns out for this community is for a certain reason, right? This community is breaking the wheel and breaking the status quo because of the information that we've been privy to. And Sin Havoc, hashtag, I was right. I get it. Yeah.
We know.
We have information from the inside, and we really appreciate you guys kind of riding along with us, right? And seeing it all kind of pan out. And the receipts are there, right, Sin Havoc? And that's why I operate. I love people who can back up their claims and back up what they say with receipts. If you make claims or you make allegations and you point fingers and there's no receipts, I raise them by I can't, I'm not The Rock, but the people's eyebrow does kind of,
Like the whole Ezra Miller thing again, if we're going to bring it back full circle.
Yeah, exactly. Allegations. Now, there's some other allegations going on, and there's receipts for those. I'll just say, this community has been getting receipts. Thank you, Sin Havoc. So,
Oh, yeah.
I just love kind of feeling like Thanos. Resting, sitting back, watching a grateful fan base see it all play out. And that's the one thing about being a Snyderverse fan or a Zack Snyder fan that this community I want to commend with. We knew it was going to be a long haul. We knew in this world that we live in with instant gratification, we have a cell phone. We can order whatever we want and have it delivered right away, right? But we knew with something like Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, it's going to be a while, right? And other IPs and other director's cuts, right? It's going to be a while because of what we have to do to make it happen. The company who has it under lock and key, they're not listening. So stop talking to them. Stop it. If you want to, that is your prerogative. Not gonna. I think me and Bat Dan both agree. What you're wearing is hashtag Make the Batflick Movie hat campaign, correct?
Yes.
And that benefits AFSP. We support AFSP.
AFSP, and from my understanding, Feeding America too, because that's a favorite charity of Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck's, yep. And if it's for charity, hell yeah, we're gonna support it. And hashtag ZSJ on Netflix. So these campaigns, right, are making a difference, but it's also making noise. So we commend that. Like, keep making noise. However, be smart about it at the same time. It was going to be a long haul, but now we have made so many strides and efforts. People forget that the DCEU was on Netflix, right, Bad Dan? Last year. The entire...
Benny Prue only promoted his movie. But anyway, go on.
The entire DCEU. Other than what the previously announced Justice League mysteriously never showed up. I wonder why, Bat Dan. Why did Justice League not show up on Netflix? So don't forget about the receipts that we have with this movement and what we made happen. Okay? So although we may be small, we are mighty, and I love that people are seeing the light because WBD is Doll's job. So you might want to be talking to other companies. Just saying.
Yes, exactly, Josh. Exactly. Talk to other companies like Netflix. And what's really interesting with this is that it's like basically feels like what happened is that Warner Brothers and Discovery got divorced, and Discovery just got a bunch of Warner Brothers assets, as well as some of their debt too. That's basically what happened with this company, is that they got married and now they got divorced, but they got some of the assets. But what I find really, it's also funny too, because I said that I wanted Zaslav to get Discovery with all of WBD with all WB's debts. That's half happening. Just that Zaslav's not going with it. Like Discovery's getting all the debt along with some of the other assets, but Zaslav's is not getting the debt company. But it's what you're saying. It's like, they're splitting up. They're selling into parts. This is a good step for the movement, though. Exactly what you're saying, though, Josh. Exactly. Is because now what happened here is that basically, I'm going to pull this up. You basically got all the assets that people really want. I mean, let's be honest. Let me just take this banner down real quick. When people want to buy Warner Brothers, they want something like DC. And by the way, DC Comics also goes into this one too. Not just DC Studios, but like the comics, the publishing as well. So all of DC is with this. Warner Brothers, and when I actually looked up Looney Tunes, like who gets Looney Tunes, according to Google AI, this is also goes in streaming and studios, which I just realized you can't actually see my cursor that I'm using to point. I just realized that, but it's streaming and studios. It's this one. It's streaming and studios is what's getting all the good stuff. So basically what they did is they put all the crap, all the stuff that people aren't as interested in, along with the debts, in one company, and then made it a lot more desirable for another buyer. I will say this, there's rumors of Sony buying Warner Brothers or getting DC. I hope to God that does not happen. I really, really hope that does not happen. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Madam Web.
I know you like that movie, Josh, but a movie about when someone steals a cab and is able to drive to the airport with a stolen cab and not run into issues, and a studio approves that, I don't trust them with DC.
Madam Web. No. She knew was coming. Madam Web.
No.
Just joshing you.
I know, but I hope. Lost my train of thought for a second. But yes, I don't want Sony to get DC because I don't trust them. I know that I guess this will result in Disney getting Spider-Man back, which would be good for Marvel, but for DC, that would suck. And let me put this banner back up. I'm going to put this banner back up. But I've also heard they just want HBO Max in the gaming division, which if that's the case, that's okay. But give another company DC. And here's something I'm going to talk about. This is something that I think will likely happen. So I do think Netflix is going to get the Snyderverse. I think they're going to make the deal to get the Snyderverse. Get some of that debt off before the buyer, because they're getting most of the debt, not all the debt. So get their debt off for the next buyers of the company. I think that Universal is going to buy them because this past month, I've been watching a lot of theme park videos. The YouTubers are, I think they're Great American Coaster and Attraction Ideas. But their links are in the description, so if I got that wrong. But anyways, I learned a lot about theme park rights. And I think it's well known that Universal has Marvel and Islands of Adventure because of a pre-existing contract with Marvel, not Disney. But here's the thing, Josh, what I found out about that is that basically in the contract, Marvel, so basically just how it works is that east of the Mississippi River, Universal has theme park rights to Marvel. And anything that Universal is not using, Disney can use. So that's why Disney can have Guardians of the Galaxy at Epcot. But basically, Disney can't use the Marvel name, and they can't use these 4 Marvel brands. Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men, and the Avengers. Anything outside of those 4, Marvel can use, or Disney can use, but let's be honest. That's like saying that, you don't have all of DC, just Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Justice League. But anyways, with that, though, Universal can't make any expansions because part of the agreement is that Marvel has to approve any changes other than basic renovations. So now that Disney owns Marvel, they're not going to approve any. They're not going to help their competition. They are not going to help their competition at all because you wouldn't want to do that. But basically, Universal can't expand their Marvel land. They're stuck leaving it the way it is, which I don't think any theme park really wants an IP like that. But repeat what again? What am I repeating?
I think it was when you were cooking about the split. he had put it in the chat. I forget what exactly, but
Just tell me what you want me to repeat, Sin Havoc, and I'll repeat it. The problem is we don't read a comment right away. I've been on that end too, Sin Havoc. I've done that. I'll say something in one of Sky's chats, and then it comes up later. It's like, what? But anyways. So basically, Universal would probably rather have an IP that they can do anything with. And fun fact, Josh, when Islands of Adventure was opening up, they went to Warner Brothers about Looney Tunes and DC. They wanted Looney Tunes and DC in their theme parks. But Warner Brothers asked for 8%. They were fighting over royalties. And at the time, Warner Brothers had a controlling stake in Six Flags. So they could have signed this deal at the time. And basically, they fought over 8% or whatever. Warner Brothers wanted 8%. Universal stuck at 5%. So like, nope, we're going to go to Marvel. And that's what they did. But now if let's say if Universal were to buy Warner Brothers Discovery outright, they would have the rights to Looney Tunes and DC. So essentially, what I think would happen is that Islands of Adventure, the Marvel land, I think would transition into a DC land. I think what Universal would do is they would sell the rights. They wouldn't just give up the rights, because basically, if Universal takes down the Marvel stuff, Disney gets the rights automatically. I think Universal would sell the Marvel rights to Disney, the theme park rights specifically, and then they would use that, and then they would essentially turn that into DC land. And then, but then the only problem is Six Flags. Six Flags has the theme park rights in terms of the U.S. It's other countries too, but in terms of the U.S., they have theme park rights to Looney Tunes and DC everywhere except the Las Vegas metropolitan area. Why Las Vegas? I have no idea. It just the YouTuber didn't know either. So there's precedent though, and Six Flags is in debt. So basically, Universal could buy the theme park rights specifically for the state of Florida, because Six Flags, they're in debt and they don't have a park in Florida. So they could say, hey, you can keep Looney Tunes and DC everywhere else, but give us Florida back. We want the rights to Florida to put DC and Looney Tunes in our theme park. So that's why I think Universal will want, the whole point of this whole theme park rant is that I think Universal will want more assets for their theme parks, not just the movie division. They definitely want more stuff for the movie division too. But they could really benefit with their theme park too, because it's no longer third-party content. It's their own, or IP. It's their IP. So they can do anything they want with it. So I think what's going to happen is that Universal is going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. They're going to do this whole split, whatever. Disney will get Marvel in their theme parks all over, and specify that, Dennis, and that Universal will, so Disney will have Marvel all in the entire U.S. again for their theme parks, and then Universal will turn Marvel Land into DC Land, and we'll get some kind of upgraded DC theming, because Six Flags is fine, but it's pretty low theming. It's basically a Batman ride with Batman colors, a Superman ride with Superman colors. Nothing as detailed as like Universal or Disney. So we could see something like that in the theme park, which I think would be really cool. But oh yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Dennis. But so that's something that a lot of people, no one's talked about yet, but that's what I think is going to happen. Now that Warner Brothers is now a cheaper asset, Universal can buy that and they can put DC and Looney Tunes in their theme park, and they don't have to pay licensing fees to Warner Brothers for Harry Potter anymore, because they own Warner Brothers, so they don't have to pay licensing fees to them. So, yeah. Yep, ZSJL IP, Sin Havoc. That's Netflix is going to get the ZSJL IP. But anyways, that was a long rant, but what do you think about that idea, Josh?
No, great point, Matt Dan, and I love your theory. I mean, that would be amazing too. And I think it's also worth mentioning, thank you, Dennis, for that about Nolan, right? Because Nolan is doing the Odyssey at Universal. And if I remember correctly, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but this little executive by the name of Scott Stuber was the executive who was present when this young kid named Zachary Edward Snyder came into the offices of Universal and pitched a zombie movie by the name of Dawn of the Dead. And then it was interesting when Scott Stuber became a executive at Netflix and helped bring over Zack Snyder to reunite with him on Rebel Moon. And then Scott Stuber decided to leave Netflix and start his own production company, right? But from what I understand, he still has ties to Universal. So I'm just going to throw that out there from what I understand. You know, whenever you leave one company, you always kind of like leave, on good terms just in case. So it's interesting that he went track record with Universal and Netflix, both of which have had amazing Zack Snyder IPs. And then Netflix had Warner Brothers IPs that Zack made on their platform. So just saying. But I love this theory, Batdan. And, we mostly, with our movement and campaign, we are Snyder fans, but we're focusing on hashtag sells DSGL to Netflix, hashtag sells Snyderverse to Netflix. Some people have questioned, why are you just talking to Netflix? We've already went into that. By having that idea with the biggest streamer, you're automatically including every movie studio, right? Because if you're talking to Netflix, the other studios pay attention. So This has all been thought about. This has all been worked out thanks to Super Sky, Skywalker the Jedi, and Leon, Lieutenant Leon, Batman himself of the New Geeks. Curated and refined also by the good Austin, the Flash of the Cell Movement, and W. Necron, my fellow Texan friend. Catch up is what I'm trying to say. And I'm trying to catch up to you, Batdan, because this Universal theory, hey, you never know. Time will tell. Let's see what happens.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I agree with Netflix for the Snyderverse, but after we get that, I want DC to be a strong brand again in general. And I think lots of things would help. A studio that can really treat it with care. And I think Netflix would do a good job too, but if Universal also could do a lot of cool stuff with DC as well. So I think there's a lot of potential, I think, for buyers of DC is my point. Right? I think for the Snyderverse, Netflix is the way to go, absolutely. But after that, I want to see that upgraded Universal land. I'm just saying. I just want to see that upgraded Universal land or DC land at something that's a little bit more detailed than what we have at Six Flags. But I'm still excited to check out Six Flags DC Universe land at the end of the month. So, but
take pics.
But wait, you think DC itself is being sold as a whole, not just Warner Brothers? Streaming on studios? Is that what you're saying, Sin Havoc? I mean, if that happened, I could see Netflix just buying DC outright then.
I mean, they have a DC IP currently on their top 2 or 3 TV shows in the Sandman, just saying.
Yeah. Exactly, Josh. Exactly. So, point is, there's lots of potential for things to happen. I think there's benefits no matter which avenue happens. I'll say that. I think there's a lot of benefits. The only thing I don't want Disney to get DC, and I don't want Sony to get DC. I think other than those two, I think if Netflix or Universal are my top 2 picks for getting the DC brand. Which one? Honestly, whoever can do the most. Again, Universal, they could upgrade if they could give DC some better theme park stuff. That'd be cool, but also Netflix, I think, can do a lot of dope stuff beyond the Snyderverse. So I think Universal could maybe reboot and start their own cinematic universe. That's not infiltrated with Gunning Poo, and after the Snyderverse has been properly concluded. So, anyways, and what up, Leon, the Batman of the Cell Movement?
Batman, birthday boy, birthday weekend. Hope you had an amazing birthday weekend, Leon. Shout out to you.
RMT. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm bad with abbreviations. What's RMT?
Come on, Batman. Rebel Moon Theory.
Oh.
Took me a minute too.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Rebel Moon Theory.
Shout out.
Wait, what? No. You cannot just. Let's be honest. DC is worth as much as it is because of Batman. So No, I hope that does not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good point, or Rebel Moon Theory. And especially if, let's say, Netflix opened up a park in Las Vegas, in the metropolitan area. It doesn't have to be Las Vegas itself. In the metropolitan area, they could actually open up their DC land in Las Vegas.
And they are opening a Netflix theme park in Dallas. So I live not too far. So you might be seeing some content, let's just say, in the future.
Oh boy, I cannot wait. That will be fun. But I think at the end of the day, the split is a good thing. I think that it will make buying the more desired assets easier for another company, and we'll see what happens. And anytime, Leon, anytime. We support our own here. So, lots of great stuff. And now this. Oh, hold on a second. What am I doing? I have a wardrobe change. Okay, there we are. And you're on mute still.
My bad.
And hold on, before I fully transition. Okay, that's really... I forgot that stuff, like you have the whole Schuster thing with Superman too, so... That stuff is very...
Socks.
Well, Socks. I love you, Socks. Okay, now Superman. We have a movie that's coming out this week that, I'll tell you, Josh, I cannot tell you how many people ask me, are you excited for this new Superman movie? What do you think about the new Superman movie? Why don't you want to see the new Superman movie? And it's just so hard to going through the whole detail, but let's just take out the whole issue with Henry Cavill and how they disrespected Cavill and the fans with going back on the return. Let's just go straight to just the quality of the movie itself. It looks like shit. I'm sorry, but I cannot get over some of this stuff. It's like Superman's yelling at Lois. I mean, Josh, could you imagine if someone just was yelling at a girlfriend like this? Like, could you believe that? Like, I'm just saying that, like, that would not be okay. And I genuinely laugh at this clip, Josh, when he actually calls the robots Superman robots. Like, I genuinely laugh, but not the way you're supposed to. I laugh at the ridiculousness of that. You actually called the robots Superman robots. And then the scene with Superman and Lex Luthor, he mutters about crypto under his breath, and Superman doesn't hear it. What? He has super hearing. Oh, but James Gunn says Superman's not as strong as Superman is in the comics, so he didn't know how to write Superman as a strong character. But yeah. Exactly. Where's the dog? The dog! The dog! And it's just... And the thing is, too, the general audience is seeing this. Let's see if this is the one. Okay, so wish you could zoom in on this more, honestly, but this, I forget which seat. Okay, this is for the 9:15 showing of opening night of Superman. Not a lot here. This is the 2:45 on opening night. This is barely even full. I know it's a work day, but my God, if the movie's popular enough, seats will fill up. People will take off. Not everyone works normal hours. That seat would fill up.
Yeah.
I will admit the 6 o'clock one opening night, this seat is pretty full. I will admit that, but I will also say when I went to see The Flash Saturday night, the theater looked like this. So, just saying.
Just saying.
And then also, there's also merchandise that's not selling. Who is this guy giving the middle finger? I don't know who that is, but
I don't think that finger at all.
But yeah, it's just...
Will Ferrell. J-Mar.
Oh, God.
That hair. Yeah, I can't with that. broccoli top.
It's
Yes.
just, this movie just looks bad. It looks bad, and then James Gunn shooting himself in the foot. It's like he gets some criticism, and then he's like, "Oh, just some 12-year-old girl from India." So now you got the whole Indian fan base mad at him. I mean, that's a huge country, and it's just, I'm kind of all over this place with this rant. I apologize, but I can't. It's just so stupid what they're doing with this movie. This movie looks like it's gonna suck. It doesn't look like it's gonna be good. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. I mean, and then you have the whole issue with Henry Cavill. It's like, as a fan, I was disrespected. We asked for Henry Cavill. You said you made him announce he was going to come back as Superman, and you went back on it. You broke a promise you made to Cavill. You broke a promise to the fans. This movie was made in bad faith from the beginning, so that alone makes me not want to support it. But also the fact that this movie looks like shit. James Gunn has not had a success outside of Marvel. In fact, his DC movie flopped. Oh, but COVID. Godzilla v Kong did well, and that was also day and date release, and in a bigger stage of the pandemic. The pandemic was a lot worse at that point when it came out. So don't give me that. But I did hear that COVID is 10 times more deadly in a DC movie and spreads 100 times more rapidly if you're watching a DC movie. Right. I didn't hear that excuse, but I wouldn't be surprised if that one came out. But that's a good point, W. Mir. That's a good point. And it's just, this is what pisses me off. People are saying, you got to support this movie. You got to support this movie. It's like, no, I don't actually. I work hard. I like my job, but I work hard for my money. I work really hard for my money. Okay? I get to decide what I spend it on, what I don't spend it on. And I'm not spending it on a project that disrespected its audience. Okay? I'm not going to do it. I saw the clips of this movie. It looks like shit. I'm sorry. Superman looks awful. He's yelling at Lois. Okay, so this scene where Lois interviews Superman. When I interview people, I sometimes ask questions I know the answer to because I know that other people are asking them and I need to provide answers. Superman needs to calm the fuck down and just answer the questions to his girlfriend. Because yelling does not make you... If you just yell, people are less likely to listen to you. So, I'm on a tangent. I guess, Josh, anything you want to say?
Wow. You did say a lot. You well said, Bat Dan, because we cannot forget, right? And I've seen people mention it in the chat, right? Keep the same energy, right? Because all of y'all who are shilling for this crap product, it's obvious you are shilling hard. You are shilling for 1997's Batman and Robin. Admittedly, I was a kid when that came out, okay? I only saw in theaters Batman Returns because I was too young. I was barely a day away from turning 1 year old when Batman 89 came out. Came out a day before my birthday, my first birthday. But I saw Batman Returns, I saw Batman Forever, and I saw Batman and Robin. Now we know what happened to Batman and Robin. That movie came out and quote unquote killed the comic book franchise for a long time. Okay. So why would all these influencers and critics and pundits shill so hard for this movie when really they are shilling for a studio that's sinking like the freaking Titanic? All of the caverns are overflowing with water, and everybody knows. Everybody knows. Okay? So stop it with this just disingenuous reactions and these, oh, guys, I can't talk about it, but I've seen it. Stop. As somebody who goes to the advanced screenings, I've had a eye-opening experience this year, over the years, but particularly this year with the desperation that's going on for this particular movie. And Bat Dan, I'm going to be honest, like, I'm very quiet right now because honestly, I don't want to talk about this subject, but we need to, right? Because we have to speak up. When we see stuff, DC and WB used to be prestigious. It used to be something, right? Batman 89, the movie that was literally responsible for me being here today, changed the Hollywood industry. It was the first movie to hit, I believe, 200 mil domestic at the box office. That skyrocketed the marketing, the merchandise. WB changed everything because of Michael Keaton's franchise. Yes, Christopher Reeve, Superman 78 was the blueprint and still is in a sense. But nothing was successful like Batman 89. And what was that? That was dark. That was a complete departure from the Adam West that I was raised by. Boom, pow, whack, right? And Burt Ward, which I still love. But this was serious. This took itself serious. This was not something for the kiddies. And now that you've literally, with a generation of people, with Batman the Animated Series, hell, X-Men the Animated Series, Spider-Man the Animated Series, we've matured with these properties. And I understand trying to bring new people in the franchise. We talked about that with Jurassic Park, right? But when even the kids, Batman, aren't buying your merch because it looks stupid and boring, and you audibly hear children see these previews in other movies and say, I don't want to see that, there's no other explanation than this is being purposefully done as a complete slap in the face to what became before it, which was epic, iconic, and a global phenomenon. So stop, content creators. I understand your hustle. I ain't gonna knock you. Everyone's gotta eat, okay? But stop it. Because everyone sees through your granny's peach tea, and we're not gonna drink it.
Exactly, Josh. Exactly. And I'm just going to add, again, influencers. It's the same thing for you. Just because it's dark does not mean the Snyder Bros, a term I find very derogatory, by the way, will like it. And here's the thing. You're like so obsessed that this movie's going to make $1 billion. Well, if it doesn't, you're going to look really stupid. I'm just saying that. And not because you were wrong about your opinion. No. It's because of how you were treating other people who didn't think so. That's what I'm saying. Like, look, here's the thing. Like someone, I'll tell you, Josh, someone was like I'm debating with someone about this movie being a success, and this person's like, okay, well, whoever wrong deletes their Twitter. I'm like, what? I'm not going to delete my Twitter over a movie. Are you sure you don't want to just delete your Twitter so you don't have to admit the fact that you were wrong? Look, I don't think this movie's going to do well. I mean, as I show, the merchandise is not selling. I mean, the tickets, 1 out of 3 showings I showed, one of them looks decently sold out, but the other 2... No.
And we're all comparing notes, right, Bad Dan? We're all, that's the same. You've seen the screenshots. Skywalker has shared the stuff that in my theater, these aren't selling. And the ones that are sold, why are they in a pattern of an L, Bad Dan? Why would every single person choose the first and second seat in a row, and then the next row, the next people chose the first and second seat, and then the next person, first and second, and the next person, and to all the way back, and then all of the back rows are bought, making an L interesting, an L shape.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, Josh, and exactly, Sox, and I'm saying, Sox, he said this. He's not a big Snyderverse fan. He's not. He respects it, but he's not a big fan of it. But he still understands that he's never going to ask us to stop moving on from it, and that's why I can respect someone like Sox, because he doesn't tell us to move on. Because at the end of the day, we're fans. We have the right to fight for what we want to fight for. We have the right to decide what we're interested in, what we're going to spend our hard-earned money on. I have no interest.
Yeah, case in point, I just want to mention, Sox, I think you had a discussion with Bat Dan about Deadpool and Wolverine. which brought back Marvel last year. So nobody was talking about move on from Hugh Jackman, move on from Deadpool. It's over. They're gone. They're with Fox. No, they brought them back, and now it's the biggest thing in the MCU.
And Cavill. They brought Cavill in it too.
They brought Henry freaking Cavill. Come on.
So, just saying. And again, it's just stupid choices. And with James Gunn, just okay.
There
What
he
up, Sky,
is.
leader of Cell? Thank you for stopping by.
That's the man.
Just doing a rant about Superman. And I don't like to get too far into this stuff, so I'm not going to get too far into this. I'm just going to say, look up James Gunn, look at his tweets, and tell me if this is a guy that you feel comfortable supporting. That's all I'm going to say. This is not allegedly, this is not accused like Ezra Miller. This is, he actually did and said this stuff. There is no allegedly with him, and he did not get punished. He got fired from Marvel, immediately hired at DC, and he got hired back at Marvel and was able to do his project. So no, James Gunn was not punished at all. So do not tell me he was punished. He wasn't. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That marketing is crazy. This movie's making a...
You know what? Just don't even look at his. Well, you look at his tweets, but also just go read the Toy Collector, right, Sky?
Yeah.
And then the Toy Collector too.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait for that stream either. And this will be on Sky's channel. You know,
Yes.
my channel, I try to avoid that stuff, but I totally respect other YouTubers who cover this stuff because
It's
it
needed.
is important to... Exactly, because it is important to expose people who do bad things, and it's just these people shilling for James Gunn, like the influencers who go after us. But yeah, I know, Sky. I know I've seen ads everywhere too. But the thing is, I didn't see an official trailer for Superman before Jurassic World. But it was one of those like cross promo things with some other company. You know, it's not like a real trailer, but they like advertise another company. Like I think it was Ford they were advertising. It was one of those type of ads, but
I was, you guys know, I was hanging out with the family. Shout out to Skywalker and Leon for having me on a stream on their channel on 4th of July. And my grandfather was watching a baseball game. Guess what was flashing back then every inning? Presented by, and I was like, oh my God. And so I noticed it, right? Showed that kitty slide of a symbol. It would do like a pop out thing while my grandfather was watching his game. And I turned to my aunt who has been there with my grandfather the entire time. And I was like, have you heard anything about this new Superman movie coming out? She's like, what? She had no idea. And she's watching the game with my grandfather, but still not even, the marketing's basically not working. It's so funny about this. She had no idea. Maybe she just wasn't paying attention to the game, but still. Interesting.
yes, exactly though, Josh. Exactly. The whole point is this movie is out there. Here's the thing: there is marketing for this movie. James Gunn is the studio. He is the director. He is the writer. If this movie fails, there's one person to blame: Gunny Poo. Gunny Poo is the only one who takes responsibility, not the Snyder fans. Because guess what? If Snyder fans are at fault for this, or big enough not supporting our movie, maybe means that you should have actually done what we were asking for and just finish the Snyderverse. Didn't have to totally go all in with the Snyderverse. Just finish the story properly, as in not on a cliffhanger. But yeah, exactly. There's marketing. You know, I've seen marketing everywhere. People are not interested. This is the thing. And we will see after this weekend. When the box office comes out, it will be out there. And we will see what actually happened. And oh, there's another?
Another one. Oh, yeah.
Oh God, that. Yep.
How are you going to support a racist director with everything he said and done? That's what I don't know. I mean, I guess spend your money how you want, but that's not what Superman stands for. I'm just saying.
It's not. It's not at all. I'm not buying it with Corn Sweat. And honestly, Nicholas Hoult just comes off as a bully to me. He doesn't come off as like an actual menace. He just comes off as that childhood bully. That's what he is to me. He's not, his delivery doesn't convince me. Rachel Brosnahan has the look. I will give her that. She does have the look of Lois Lane. And so far I haven't seen anything terrible with her character. So I'm even gonna go that, but Corn Sweat and Holt, I'm not buying them. I'm not buying them. And oh yeah, that too.
That means we're being effective over here. If you're threatened by what these pesky boys are doing, I think you're a little threatened. Let's say it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I'm not going to cover too much. I know he did say this. I don't like to really get into politics on this channel, but I will say this. Being apolitical, do not piss off either segment of the fandom. Do not piss off the liberals. Do not piss off the conservatives, because all you do is irritate 50% of your audience. Whether I agree with a certain stance or not, that's irrelevant. Like, for example, I went after Mark Hamill for attacking Trump fans at Fan Expo Chicago. It's not because I love Trump. It's because that, and maybe I do, maybe I don't. I'm not getting to my stance on here. It's because as a public figure, you should not alienate half your fan base. And it's the same thing here. Whether or not I agree with him personally, that does not matter. This is a movie that you need to appease your entire fan base, and now you just irritated 50% of your audience. So,
after saying there would be no politics in the DCU, didn't he say that?
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
now he just did another one and making politics, and they're pissing off all of India too with his racist comments. Like, wow, dude, you really want to be the co-head of a certain studio? You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great.
Let's see. The women do. They have the main character yelling at his girlfriend aggressively. You pissed off the entire country of India, which is a really big country, by the way, people. It's not some minor country. They are a big fan base, and you pissed off a political party. So now you pissed off like major groups of people. So, and you pissed off allies too. You pissed off. I mean, plus also not just that too. With that statement, there's also the political moderates. You know, the people who are not hardcore liberal. You piss them off too, because they don't want to see liberal politics preached to them. So keep in mind, I would argue maybe it's a little more than 50% if you take in that too. So that's all I'm going to say with that. Again, I don't exactly, Leon.
Mhm.
It's not about politics. It's just the principle of the matter.
It's option 3. That's what it is. Shout out to Scott.
Yes. Option 3. Exactly. It's just the reason why this movie is failing is because of James Gunn of Gunny Poo and his own actions. That is what's happening right now. And I will not support this movie because one is, again, the disrespect of Cavill. We were invested in Cavill. You told us we were getting him back, and now you're not. But here's the thing, Josh. Here's another point. This is something a lot of people don't talk about. Let's just say this movie surprises us. Let's say, despite everything, the clips work in the context that we saw, and this movie is phenomenal against all odds. Let's just say that, because I'm going somewhere with this. Even if this movie is a success, you cannot justify not finishing the Snyderverse, because here's the problem. How do I know you're going to finish this universe? Now, how are people supposed to get invested in this universe when you have a precedent of not finishing your stories properly? So that's what I'm saying. There's no version where this ends up well, is my point. That is my point. But here's the thing. Likely this movie is not doing well, and you have to justify firing Cavill. Nothing in here, nothing from what I've seen in this clip says, oh yeah, moving on from Cavill prematurely was a good move.
Yeah, everyone, whether or not, I mean, there's some people that are not Snyder fans. I get that. I can accept that. I'm not insecure about that. But I think everyone, pretty much everyone, was a Henry Cavill Superman fan. So when you're doing when you fire Henry Cavill and give us blue balls, good luck.
Supergirl is likely going to be a tax write-off, in my opinion. If Superman does not do well, the shareholders are showing they are not tolerating this bullshit anymore. So,
Sasha Kaye is my Supergirl, and I'll be watching her on Netflix with Batfleck. So,
and maybe in Netflix again in ZSJL 2 and 3 as well. So,
you never know.
what up, Guitar?
What's up,
But
Guitar?
Anything else you want to say about this whole rant here?
You've done enough. Thank you. This is not something I necessarily wanted to talk about, but it is needed. So I appreciate you, Bat Dan, getting all this off your chest, because we have to be vocal, right? It's really disheartening to see something that we've all grown up with, I think most of us have been exposed to everything DC. Most of us are maximum exposure was Kevin Conroy, rest in peace, for Batman the Animated Series, right? That's our template. And I'm sorry, but nothing that I see in Gunny Poo's universe can even stand close to any episode, even the one when the kids fight the Penguin with Batman in their house. I got Batman in my basement. I'm sorry, but even that was like a Scorsese movie compared to what I've been seeing in the clips, in my opinion. So I am disheartened to see the IP that means so much to me have a movie come out that I have zero interest, y'all. Zero interest. Really. What I'm more fascinating by is the cope that's going to happen after that's released, and the cope that's already happening. And like I said, I'm rubbing shoulders with people, and I'm hearing things in the local level, which is basically, nothing compared to like Hollywood or New York or anything like that, right? But what I'm hearing is just such a crazy coordinated game, a scheme, a Ponzi scheme, essentially, to shield this horrible piece of trash. So I'm doing some Lois Laning myself. I'll just say that. I love Rachel Brosnahan, but I'm doing more Amy Adams type investigating. I'm going in territories that I'm maybe necessarily not the safest, but I'm doing it for the principle. Okay? I'm doing it for the truth. And I'm doing it for justice. And the American way. Happy birthday, America. Cancer season. So stay tuned and just go see Jurassic World Rebirth, actually, and Fantastic Four. I'll say that.
Well, Fantastic Four First Steps, we still have a little bit before we see that movie, but for now, see Jurassic World, because this transitions to us perfectly. So we rant about Superman here today. We did. I'm sure there's some other stuff, if I really think about it, I could cover, but honestly, I'm kind of done at this point. I wanted to do this because, it's an elephant in the room. It's a big movie coming out. I'm a DC channel. So, of course, I have to acknowledge this movie. Okay. I can't not do it. But I think going forward, especially this week after this, I'm done really talking about Superman 2025. And here's what I'm going to say, what to do going forward. So this week, look, we all have freedom of speech. I get that. But this is what I'm recommending. If you want the Snyderverse, which, I think the majority of my audience does. I mean, maybe I'll get new audience that's not a big fan of the Snyderverse. But if you do want the Snyderverse, here is the thing. I'm going to recommend that you do not talk about Superman at all after today. Maybe tomorrow, one last thing, if you have one final stream to do, fine. But I really recommend after this, do not engage with the posts. Do not engage with the haters. I've made this mistake myself. Nothing gets accomplished by it. Do not engage with any of that stuff, because we don't want to give this movie any more engagement. I did my stream talking about why I'm not supporting this movie, but we're done right now. After this, we should be done. But here's also the thing too. Here's what you also got to remember. Gunny Poo, he titled the movie Superman, not Superman Legacy. He did that so that any mention of Superman will be counted as engagement towards him. So that being said, hashtag or no hashtag, as hard as it is, do not say Superman at all unless it is part of the hashtag format, so it will be counted together, Henry Cavill Superman. Aside from that, do not say Superman because that will count towards engagement for Gunny Poo. You can say Superman with like the asterisk over the U so that it doesn't count as Superman. You can just say Man of Steel, Man of Tomorrow, pronounce that right, Last Son of Krypton. You can give him all sorts, Boy Scout, whatever. But it's important to focus on, this channel always supports this campaign. Sell ZS Jail to Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. Engage with Netflix. Show Netflix our demand. Do not give Warner Brothers the engagement because right now, all they have done is they've fucked us over one too many times. Do not give them the engagement. Make them desperate enough. Because look, obviously Netflix will have to engage with Warner Brothers for Cell to happen. But let Netflix do that. And let's not give Warner Brothers the engagement in the meantime. So it's really important not to, do not engage with this movie this is what I'm recommending. Again, if you really want to, you do have freedom of speech, but if your mission is get the Snyderverse, I'm really recommending you follow this. That's what I'm going to say. And yes, exactly, Socks. And before I hand this over to Josh, I'm just going to say, this channel in the meantime will cover DC still, okay? This is a DC channel. There will be ways to cover DC. I'm not going to cover the box office, though, until next month, and that's if it fails, I'll cover the box office. I mean, eventually I'll cover it. Like, once it does what it does and the engagement doesn't matter, I'll cover it next month just for it to be in the news, whether it succeeds or fails. But I'm not going to, even if it fails drastically this weekend, I'm not going to cover it still because I don't want to give it the engagement. Not now. Next month, I may be a little more flexible about covering it because it's news I do need to cover. But I'm not. Other DC I will cover. I'm not going to cover this, but other DC I'll cover. I'll cover the Snyderverse. I'll cover classic DC if it comes up. I may even cover Sandman. I got to watch that. I haven't watched that, but there will be DC I cover. And I'm going to Six Flags, and I'm going to see going to DC Universe Land. Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois, and going to DC Universe Land, and I may talk about that on the channel. So there will be some DC I cover on this channel. And by the time I plan on going, Superman will likely fail. But again, rules of engagement. Be positive. Do not engage with Warner Brothers. Do not mix the hashtags. I don't think I said those in order, but those are the rules of engagement. Follow them. If you want to get the Snyderverse, this is what I'm saying. I'm recommending is the way. Do not engage with Superman at all. Do not mention the name Superman, even if you're referring to Henry Cavill, because that will count as engagement for Warner Brothers for the movie. So, Josh, I talked a lot. Your thoughts?
I mean, why would you want to see that kitty slide when you type in Superman, you're gonna see a kitty slide. Why would you want to see that? I don't know. And I think if you type in hashtag Clark Kent, it even comes up. So if you see that kitty slide, run. If you know, you know. But no, I just wanted to reinforce the ROEs, rules of engagement, which may or may not rub some people the right way, but those who are disciplined, who are organized, who are effective, like this community, know that the only reason why we are still here and have a chance is because of ideas that are bulletproof by two men, Skywalker the Jedi, Super Sky as I like to call him, Superman of the Cell Movement, and Leon, Lieutenant Leon, Batman of the Zack Snyder's Cell Movement. They saw what has happened in the past with hashtag release and everything in between, refined this movement and filtered through so many to have this core that has continued to stay the course. And there's been trials, there's been tribulations, there's been friends and loved ones lost along the way, right? But we are still here. And what are we if we were to give up? Who are we, right? We cannot forget about those who we've lost and who we are fighting for. We know what is at the end of those credits, right? And who are we to give up? We disrespect, we dishonor that person's memory. So therefore, we stay the course because this movement, because of ideas from two men who have gotten so much hope because of the idea it was bulletproof, we have cultivated a community of fans, and we are reaching new heights. I'm sorry to other movements, but there's not really a lot of Forbes articles written about your movement. There's not a lot of engagement happening with that movement when you're talking to a company. Still make your noise. Me and Bat Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, Bat Dan, but we support all the campaigns, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do restore or make the Batfleck movie myself, but I do support those campaigns. And I'll even go as far as Josh is saying, when Make the Batfleck movie does their own campaign, I support that campaign the Cell way. I'll write out Make the Batfleck movie with the Cell hashtags, which Make the Batfleck movie has shown support for doing. So,
hey, you know I'm a little invested in hashtag release of something else, right? Just a little bit. Got my initials on it. So yeah, but the idea that's bulletproof encapsulates that. This is encapsulated with hashtag sell ZSJ to Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. By using that and talking to Netflix, we are talking to everyone because everyone wants that Netflix money. Netflix is dominating the industry, okay? So, all I have to say, I appreciate you guys taking on and continuing the conversation at the cool table. I trust you guys to talk about these things. Everyone else, do not hashtag kitty slide. It's two hashtag. Sell ZSG of Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. We stay the course. Hashtag sells the way. That's all I got to say.
exactly, Josh. Exactly. And I think Henry Cavill's Superman is okay to hashtag too, because that does not count towards engagement for WB, but it's only two hashtags at a time. Yes. But I'll put like, here's a good rule of thumb. Type out, test it out. Just put the tweet, and if you see that, if you do the hashtag and you get that kitty slide, just don't post it. Delete the draft. You know, you can test stuff out on drafts, see how they look. That's okay to do. But July 11th, come out with sell ZSJ to Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. You can change that with Henry Cavill Superman as a hashtag. I think that's been approved by the cell leaders as far as I know. But other than that, though, support the campaign. And if you have to work that day, they're called scheduled tweets. Schedule those tweets. I mean, I have a half day that day, but I'm still probably gonna do some scheduled tweets because I want to enjoy the nice weather in my afternoon off, not just do hashtag stuff. So be on the lookout for that. There's a lot of great stuff, and yes, exactly, Sox. Save Daredevil. 7 years, and Sox and I are gonna next review Daredevil Born Again. So.
And shout out to Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, who support the Snyderverse movement as well. We are the reason for hashtag Save Daredevil, which worked. So, just saying.
Exactly, Josh. Exactly. So, be on the lookout. I'm sure Sky and Leon have a lot of great plans for this weekend. This is going to be a good weekend, guys. Because whether or not Superman fails, our mission does not change, okay? We want the Snyderverse, because as Sky says, if Superman fails, it's because of its own merit, not because of the Cell campaign, not because of our ask for the Snyderverse. We just want to see the story we love properly concluded. We're not asking for any other universe to fail. So again, don't engage, just support. And again, Josh, thank you for joining me for this stream. This was a really great discussion. And coming up on this channel is next week, Josh Herrera and I, we're going to be reviewing Jurassic World, spoiler-filled. So no spoiler light, spoiler-filled completely. I just thought, you know what? Let's review Jurassic World the weekend of Superman. I thought that was just such poetic justice. So that's what we're going to do. And then, unlike this week, I'll be like, that other movie will probably say, I'm sure that other movie will come up, but that's how it'll be referred to. So, especially if it seems like one box office is doing a lot better than the other. So that will come up. And then, is Sox still in the chat? Yeah, so Sox and I, we'll be we're going to talk more about it, but we are going to be relaunching Marvelous Discussions as well. Check out that stream I just uploaded or recording I just uploaded that was done in April, but took me a while to edit because of the move. I promise future ones are not going to take me 2 months. That was just the move kicked my ass, but we will be reviewing Daredevil Born Again and Fantastic Four First Steps for sure. That's definitely happening. Other than that, sucks, and I will have to discuss. But Josh, anything you want to advertise?
No, I just want to advertise your streams, Batdan, and the Syndicate Network in general. So I can't wait for the Jurassic World Rebirth spoiler review. So definitely make sure, if you have not seen Jurassic World, get your watches in. I know on Tuesdays there's discounts. So I know at my local Regal theater on Tuesdays, 4DX screenings are literally discounted. So I might be going myself on Tuesday. So a rewatch would help me prepare for this review. So make sure, if you have not seen Jurassic World Rebirth, you tune in theaters, because this is a movie that needs to be seen on the big screen, in my opinion. It's flawless as far as the visuals. I think that it was an amazing job. These dinosaurs, like seeing them for the first time, the reveals are worth it alone, and then all the action in between, including all the theme park ride Easter eggs, Batdan, that we'll have to talk about in our spoiler review. I got a kick out of that. So I'm excited to watch Jurassic World again. I'm excited to just rock out with you guys, because you guys, in my personal opinion, are on the right side of history. And I want to thank all you guys for doing something very American and standing up, planting your flag, and saying, no, you move. And I was a big fan of, Agent Carter. So thank you guys for making America what it is by being you. Hashtag sells DSJ to Netflix, sells Snyderverse to Netflix.
And guys, if you like this stream, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell for more unique takes, interesting thoughts, and great discussions and rants such as these. And thank you all for coming. We have a lot of great stuff coming up on this channel. This channel is back, guys. This channel is back. And on that note, any final words, Josh?
Just Josh is going to own One Punch Dan.
Have a bat-tastic day. Hashtag give the theropods feathers.